Well, well, well. You know, it just goes to show you that some people back the wrong horse. I think everybody does it at least once in their life. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't a good idea to hitch your cart to a creepy porn lawyer. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, and this is hilarious.
Yes. Welcome to Micah and the Hatman on Politics. Live for the last time on YouTube. Yep, you heard that right. Like I said before, we had been planning the move to Twitch for the live show for some time, and that is what's going to be coming to fruition. If you are not following the Twitch channel already, it is twitch.tv/BigMicahC. If one of the mods could please put that in the chat. Don't spam it. Just put it in once. The link is in the description as well, I think. If not, then there we go. So, alright. To get us started, Hatman.
Yes.
How many times do you think on this channel, as I eat a little bit of soup, because I'm not feeling very well, how many times have we probably talked about Michael Avenatti?
Oh, God. Enough times that we've referred to him as creepy porn lawyer. Because of all the shenanigans that he gets into, and the fact that, yes, he is creepy, and he is most well known for representing Stormy Daniels. But I have no idea. How many times we've mentioned him. Too many, to be perfectly honest. Too many, because he deserves to fade into obscurity.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the weirdest things to me. Is I never understood exactly why the media actually thought that it was the Stormy Daniels thing that was actually going to bring Trump down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of it, because the only thing that they had on it was that the possibility that he paid her off with campaign finances.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never any evidence of that. And even then, campaign finance violation has never brought down any sitting president. Which, by the way, multiple presidents have been guilty of it. Obama, I think, even was, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong on that.
I believe Bill Clinton was, too.
Yeah. So, it's a slap on the wrist. It's basically you didn't manage your money the way we wanted you to.
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me. So, long story short, Michael Avenatti, after the whole Stormy Daniels thing fell through, ended up going and basically trying to extort Nike, of all places, without the knowledge of his business partner, from what I recall. And, well, now he's going to jail for it for what, 2 years, I think it is?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years, and it's on top of 2 other pending indictments for defrauding his business partners.
So, goes without saying that he's toast.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, here's the thing.
His bacon is cooked.
Oh, yeah, and here's the thing about Michael Avenatti. Hatman pointed this out before the show. So, make your point again real quick, as I'm looking for a story that I saw earlier.
So, back when he was still representing Stormy Daniels, the press fawned over this dude. I'm sure most of y'all can remember. Like, he was called the David to Trump's Goliath. You know, the person who was going to help save the republic, the man who would bring back democracy, who would fight Trump's evil. and there's a good video compilation of all that fawning, and it's hilarious to watch now. But a story popped up earlier today. CBS correspondent had said maybe we were wrong about the way we covered Michael Avenatti. The press collectively was wrong.
Well, yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
Let's break this down in numbers. So I want to thank who's the writer who put this together? Ben Zeisloft over the Daily Wire for this. He did an excellent article that breaks down exactly how often Michael Avenatti was on television programming. Let's see here. According to the Daily Signal's reporting on analysis from Newsbusters, Avenatti appeared on major television networks 254 times in the year preceding his arrest for domestic abuse charges.
Oh my god.
Yeah. CNN alone represented 48% of his appearances. Brian Stelter was a huge fan of the guy.
Takes a creepy bald dude to know a creepy bald dude.
I guess, and I remember one of them, and it's actually mentioned here in this article, was specifically to try to make some sort of rebound from the disastrous appearance that Avenatti had on Tucker Carlson, where Carlson basically grilled him. Avenatti, there's a lot of questions. You go back and watch it, Avenatti just doesn't answer. He just tries to, well, what about this? What about the, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Constant dodging, which, creepy lawyer, what do you expect? So, but it's most infamous for the fact that the Chiron, during the whole segment, said, creepy porn lawyer sits down with Tucker Carlson. Which is where creepy porn lawyer comes from. I don't remember if Carlson originated it, or if it was an internet thing that he picked up on, but it's fucking brilliant, because this dude is a creep, obviously.
It's brilliant, and the best part is it's not libel because it's true.
Yeah. So, not to mention the irony of this is he would go on CNN and he said Trump is a habitual liar. What were you arrested for? Oh God. People were saying that he should run for president. Joy Reid called him brilliant and telegenic. Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post encouraged him to run for the Senate. Let's see here. Slate says the brilliant egomaniac who could bring down Donald Trump. Like,
they actually believed this crap. They actually believed it.
Nobody for 1 second on the Democratic side thought that this guy could be a huckster. Nobody. And it's incredible to me.
Or worse. They knew it, but they didn't care.
Well, and that is considerably worse, and that's generally speaking the problem. I'll talk about that for the big think this week. But generally speaking, just because somebody is on your political side, quote unquote, does not mean that they are worthy of your promotion or your time. Mm-hmm. Or that that one person is ever gonna solve all the problems that you see in front of you. It's just not going to happen. So this idea that that this guy of all people was gonna be your savior who stopped Trump, no. If you don't want a politician in office, then you need to beat them in the election. It's that simple, And they ended up winning.
Mm-hmm.
So, Servant throws in a buck and says, creepy porn lawyer had the judge read back his comments to Nike, and he cried like a bitch, to the point no one could post the video. Damn. And then Make Sips Great Again throws in a buck and says, Avenatti is going to make the booty warrior very happy, especially with Chris Hansen, who also has a warrant to his arrest. Good lord. So, yeah. never. You got to start calling out grifters on their grift.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was a king grifter, king fucking grifter, and the left now is starting to realize that they get so stirred up by any Republican at this point that like anybody who they think can bring them down, they start promoting them immediately as if they're going to. That's not how it works. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Hatman.
Yes.
While I try to finish my soup, because it's really the only thing I can eat with my toothache as it is, tell me about Eric Adams and what's going on there.
So Eric Adams is probably going to be the next mayor of New York City.
Is that a good thing?
Because he's the guy with the D next to his name. It's a better thing than people think. He ran as a moderate. He is a former NYPD captain. He carries a gun to church with him every Sunday, and he said that he will continue to carry a gun with him even as mayor.
Nice.
He does not get along very well with the socialist wing of New York Democrats, like Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who backed her own candidate in the Democratic primary, and she failed. She came in, I think, third or fourth. So, oops. But no, Eric Adams is. Oh, one more thing about him: former Republican.
Okay.
He is very much against the whole defund the police or abolish the police thing because, obviously former NYPD.
Yeah.
He actually gave enough of a shit for the COVID response to set up a mattress in his office when he was on city council, I believe. Whatever position he had held before, and I don't know if it's city council or not. But he set up a mattress in his office and basically slept there so he could work as much as possible, which good thing, unlike a certain governor who was out on speaking tours and killing grandmas.
Yeah.
No, this guy is a lot better than I think what could have been, considering the other candidates that were out there and how they did advocate for stuff like defunding the police or were outright socialists, like Maya Wiley. That was Ocasio-Cortez's chosen candidate. And Adams has also said stuff like he's going to stand up to the socialists that are being elected to the city council, which I think 2 of them just got elected.
Mm-hmm.
So things are going better than expected. I mean, he's still a Democrat. So of course there's going to be a little bit of well, we'll see what he does, but on the whole, I think this is another win for the more moderate side of the left wing, as opposed to the more hardline, push further left, progressives that are starting to come out of the woodwork and get really loud on the internet. And I think it also speaks to the idea that people do not want a hard left. They don't want this swing towards radical changes, radical shifts to the norms. They want something more moderate. They want something more middle of the road. And if someone like Eric Adams can do that and get like the endorsement of the New York Post, which is definitely not a left-wing publication, I'd say that's a net benefit for everybody.
What are his positions? We talked about policing, which is obviously going to be a big deal for New York.
Mm-hmm.
What about gun control? What's his position there? Some people in the chat were wondering about that.
it's a little bit spotty. From what I can gather, he favors loosening carry restrictions in the city.
Hmm.
Obviously, you can't do anything about the fucking state, but he favors loosening restrictions. But he's still kind of on the whole assault weapons ban thing,
Mm.
which, yeah, of course, everyone knows that's kind of bullshit. But at the same time, New York is really, really strict about who they let to carry, just about on par with Illinois.
Yeah.
And remember that they once had that ordinance where you could not have a gun outside your house unless it was in a locked container in your trunk and you were taking it to a range. So, really, any kind of loosening for those restrictions is a good thing.
Interesting. Well, I would definitely take it as a good sign when it comes to at least New York, because
Mhm.
New York under De Blasio has been not good, to say the least. Um,
No.
Both he and Cuomo as a combination have been just fucking awful. Awful for religious communities, awful for people, just people in general. Awful for your grandma. Um,
Hmm.
so when it comes right down to it, he is. This sounds like a breath of fresh air, in comparison.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking kind of like it's better than it was before. Which in some cases is really all that you can really hope for.
Yeah.
I think
It's
right
like if you
now
can.
the culture in New York is not one where a Republican can easily win. So the
Oh
fact that a
no, I,
moderate
I don't think.
Democrat is won the primary, I think speaks volumes though.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see the likes of like a Rudy Giuliani um, in charge in New York City again without some kind of like massive cultural shift. The Democrats are going to run the big cities for the foreseeable future. So the question is, which one of them do you actually want? And obviously, the one that's closest to the middle is about the best option that we can have.
Yeah.
And in this kind of tumultuous period where you have, people who just want to go back to normal, keep to the status quo, and you've got others who want all these kinds of radical changes, like, yes, defund the police, or universal basic income, free housing for everybody, that sort of thing, which people are pushing for in New York City. Someone who will step up and say not only no but fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like positions beyond that, okay, whatever, but as long as you're keeping the crazies away from you and out of any significant influence, I'll take it at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's generally speaking, like you said, that's the best that a lot of big cities can actually hope for, is that
Yeah.
they can get somebody who just D or R, that they understand how things work. Because these consistent socialists trying to get political power, they come across like they've got double digit IQs when it comes to actually how
Yeah.
things run. Because when the woke rubber hits the road, it fails every time. All right, Hatman. Olympic sprinter suspended. What's going on here?
So Shakari Richardson was set to uh, join the U.S. Olympic team, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and she uh, failed a drug test because she smoked weed, and she was suspended for a month. And the U.S. Olympic team declined to take her to Tokyo.
Jesus.
And the problem is obviously, okay, well, hold on, we're suspending people for, you know smoking a joint, why the hell is that a problem? That's not like a performance enhancing drug. It's fucking marijuana, which can be used medically even.
Yeah.
But the worst of the worst out there are saying, nope, this is actually a race issue. Because she's black and because they don't want a black person competing in the Olympics.
I'm sorry, what?
Question. Yeah, question. Do you know any white people that smoke weed?
Too many.
Yeah, apparently, the people who are saying this is a race based thing are under the impression that only black people smoke weed.
I'm sorry,
I don't,
what?
I don't fucking get it. I don't fucking get it. It makes no sense. The controversy should obviously be about marijuana and where it places into drug tests. Like it's again not a performance enhancer. It's it shouldn't be a problem. Like say what you will about the rules of the Olympic Committee. Okay, like if she broke those rules, fine, whatever. But you can also say that those rules are wrong. But then to say no, actually the only thing that's wrong is she was specifically targeted because she's a black woman is bullshit. That is, it makes no sense. And really, it seems like race baiters are grasping at straws to find anything to get outraged about now. I mean, this story is it was all over the place for like 3 full fucking days.
Yeah.
Why?
Let me say this.
Why?
I'm very much of the opinion that we're at a point where if you play the race card, you actually are going to get a lot of people to tune out of an issue. Because there is an issue to discuss here. From what I've read, this woman's very talented in regards to her sprinting ability. I mean, obviously, she looks like she could crush a watermelon with her legs. You know?
Oh yeah, I would easily lose a race to her.
Yeah, she looks fast. That says something. I come from a family of athletes, so and one of my sisters is a runner, so similar build. The fact of the matter is, or I should say, my sister was a sprinter, and yeah, when she was competing, she was built very similarly. But regardless, there's an issue of the idea that possibly one of the best athletes that the United States has been ruled that they cannot compete just because they smoked a joint. I think that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The fact of the matter is, here in the United States, recreational use for marijuana is more popular than it ever has been before. More people use products that are based on that plant now than ever before. Mostly because it's effective, especially with inflammation. And speaking as somebody who has to deal with some inflammation sometimes, like, hemp oil, things like that, they can be very helpful. So when it comes right down to it, that is an issue worth discussing, in my opinion, like the decriminalization of marijuana, things along those lines. You start bringing your skin color into it, or her skin color in this particular case, people are just going to tune out at this point. People are done.
Absolutely.
People are done with it because it's like, what? Like you're assuming that they're racist? How? Like, how many black athletes have been gold medal winners in the United States throughout history? We sent a black man to beat the piss out of the Germans during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
We sent several black athletes to do that. Like, are you fucking serious? That was pre-Jim Crow. Or pre-civil rights movement. Like, seriously? Are you insane? And that's what people look like. Or look at. It's like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It's like, this has nothing to do with their skin color, you know? And when you do that, in my opinion, it shows that you're looking for some woke points, honestly. You're looking for social credit. Which is so stupid because it doesn't pay your fucking bills. And second, you distract from what the real issues might be. Maybe there needs to be a re-examination of the testing protocols and what deserves a suspension and what does not deserve suspension. You know? Mm-hmm. Maybe there needs to be more of a discussion. Jesse Owens, that's it. Thank you, Will Geary. We just to give you an idea of how much we didn't like Hitler, as a country, is we sent Jesse Owens to the Olympics and he won gold, and he stood on the podium, and from what I remember, like, accounts are that Hitler was fuming. Good. Oh yeah. Fuck
this was 1938 Olympics in Berlin.
Yeah.
So this was right before World War II.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hitler wants to show the world the superiority of the Aryan race.
They fucking failed.
Black dude.
Yeah.
A fucking black dude beats him on the international stage.
Yeah. Because here's
Hitler.
Because here's the thing. I say this as a fan of United States sports. You know, I mean, I've always loved watching the Olympics. I've always loved rooting for my country. You know, my favorite Olympics is probably still '92 because that was the dream team.
Mm.
That was a great year. We beat the piss out of fucking everybody. It was awesome. America has had amazing boxing teams and things like that I love watching. Like, there's a lot of pride that goes there, and the idea of us losing one of our best athletes in that competition just because of some pot, to me, is just absolutely silly. Like, I would understand, like, if she was on steroids. I would understand if there was a different drug in her system, like cocaine or something. But marijuana? Like, it's so silly to me.
It's funny. Someone on Twitter had said if she can still run fast enough to make the Olympic team after smoking a joint, she absolutely deserves to be there.
Yeah. So when it comes because
what else is there?
I'll say this right now. This year I want to beat the piss out of the Chinese.
Yeah, fuck the Chinese.
This has been something that we have done as a country for a long time, is put our best athletes against our enemies and absolutely destroy them. You know, the Miracle on Ice, somebody just pointed out in the chat. Will Geary did. Like, that's another really good one. You know, it's...
When was that, 1980?
1980, yeah. Just run right through them. You know, that's what needs to happen. And
maybe not.
But
hockey's Winter Olympics.
The instant that you start introducing these ideas of trying to make everything racial when it's not, people are gonna just stop caring. Because it's like, because if it's unless you have evidence of racism, nobody wants to listen anymore. It's gotten to the point where it's just ridiculous. So, I'm going to drink a water here before we move on to the next topic.
Yeah. In conclusion, China is asshole.
Mm-hmm. Servant threw in a buck and said, dummies are showing how little they know about the U.S. They look pure crazy, sound nuts, if not creepy sometimes. Indeed. All right. Time for the Big Think. So the Big Think, for those who don't know, is a section of the podcast where we sit down and talk about civics, basically. Something in regards to how the United States works, how it's supposed to work, how it's not supposed to work, because we realized after January 6th that people on both the right and the left do not understand this nation whatsoever, or why certain ideas are present and why they need to stay there. So, today, we're going to be talking about institutions. We're going to talk specifically when it comes to the Justice Department. So we covered the possibility of the NSA spying on Tucker Carlson. He continues to insist. They continue to deny. My personal bias makes me lean towards the idea that Tucker is not lying about this. And what I found really interesting is a correspondent over on ABC News. I'm sorry, NBC News. Stated that they have a problem with Tucker doing this and speaking up when he's speaking up because it destroys American faith in institutions, or in institutions like the NSA. Now hold the phone for a sec. First off, this reeks very much, for those of you who remember the evil movement known as Gamergate. I say that with all the sarcasm in the world. When Patricia Hernandez was telling people not to speak up or when they were falsely accused of rape, because it might. What was her logic again?
Because it does not contribute meaningfully to the conversation about rape culture.
Yeah, this reeks of the same thing.
Excuse me.
By the way, rape culture still doesn't exist. There's not in this country anyway. You want to go to Iran and tell me that, then we can have a conversation. But anyway, here's the thing. Whenever it comes to the Constitution, I'm sorry. When it comes to institutions, sorry, I'm sick, guys. So bear with me as best you can. When it comes to institutions, and when it comes to really any institution, government or otherwise, when it comes to politics in general, here's something that needs to be mentioned. Faith is earned. If you want people to have faith in your institution, they shouldn't just have it because you are part of the government. Ever. You know, I am not a total anti-government person. I'm not an anarchist. I'm a minarchist, if anything. More just a conservative, to be honest with you. I like small government. I like small, limited government. But I don't mind having an FBI. I don't mind having, you know, the some of these institutions. I say get rid of the NSA could use some trimming. I definitely wouldn't mind taking the shears to it, alongside, and get rid of the ATF. But I understand the purpose that it serves. The problem is that, and this is something that just needs mention, is that, like, what are all of these groups staffed by? People that are bureaucrats, people that aren't elected officials. You know, the heads of these organizations are appointed by the president, you know, and can remain there for long lengths of time. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, if we are going to have you, you need to be doing your job and doing it well. If you're not doing your job and doing it well, and we find out that you are spying on American citizens basically because they have a different opinion than you, then we've got a problem. Then we have a big issue. And at that point, why should I have faith in you? I mean, let's think of it this way. Because this is something that really bothers me. Is like whenever people will, they'll treat private institutions and government institutions like some rules don't apply to both. Faith in an institution is the same either way. If a company does me wrong, I'm not going to want to interact with that company anymore. That's just the way that it is. You know? Or if they do my neighbor wrong, I'm going to be less inclined to want to use their services. So, if me as an American citizen, since I can't choose whether or not the NSA still exists or not, if it is going to be there, and you want me to have faith that the NSA is doing a good job, it's very simple. Leave private citizens alone. The less we hear of you, the better. You know, focus on actual criminals. You know? Because when it comes right down to it, there is there's a lot of weirdness that goes on, and as citizens, if you're going to exist and you want to do your job and you say you want to protect this country, well, you have a duty to uphold to uphold the Constitution. You all swear it when you work for these organizations. You all do. It's still a requirement. And invasion of privacy is a big problem and a big worry for people when you are a national security agency. You have to do your job without violating people's rights. That's just the way it is. And every law enforcement agency has to. So if you want us to have faith in you as an institution, that faith has to be earned. And for Democrats to act like we should just have faith in government is preposterous. Government is not God. And this is again why I also am not a fan of a secularized society, because a secularized society seems to think that government is God, or at least is some sort of a substitution for it, and it's not. It never will be, because it cannot be omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. It is not deserving of that faith, by its nature. So the fact of the matter is that I am not of the opinion that there needs to ever be any sort of faith given to an institution like this. Because ultimately, that faith will get betrayed if you just have blind faith. Nothing, in my opinion, deserves blind faith, and nothing should ever ask for it. God does not even ask for blind faith. Every time that God in the Bible, by the way, asks for someone's faith, he actually gives examples of why you should have faith in him. If you don't believe me, go back and look when he chews out Job. I think in Job chapter 48. It's been a while since I've read it. So when it comes right down to it, there's no reason for us to put our faith in the fallible. Ever. And it shouldn't, and I speak, to this as an American. I think it should be true of anybody overseas, too, to any of our overseas fans. It's like, don't just have faith because they exist. Just have, treat people like people, and expect people to be people. Because if we didn't expect people to be people, if we didn't expect a flawed world, we wouldn't have law in the first place. We wouldn't have need for it. But we do. Though Ravi Zacharias is now long disgraced for his actions, one of my favorite arguments that he would always make about morality, when people say, is like, why do you fear a secular morality? He goes, do you lock your door at night? These things have purpose because we know that we live in a flawed, broken world, and no man deserves your faith, and that includes me and Hatman, blindly. We have to earn it. All people have to earn it, and especially these big institutions need to earn it. If we don't have faith in them, it's not because of us. It's not our fault. They failed us in some way, shape, or form. And the fact of the matter is, not many people are going to take kindly to you spying on a guy who is critical of the current president based on the fact that he's critical of the current president. That's fucking ridiculous. Alright. Time for Q&A. One thing that we need to mention, Hatman and I have come to an agreement on this. This is going to be the last time we collect questions for the overflow. We're going to do one more overflow, and because we are so busy, we're going to do one last one, and that's going to have to be the end. So if
all the questions we collected before are still going to be part of that overflow.
Yep.
We're keeping that promise.
Yep.
We will do that. But after this point, we just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, we just don't have the time. I mean, we're running a comic book business. I'm spending most of my time writing, streaming, things like that. Hatman has a business to run on top of getting more education to get a better job. So we just don't have the time we used to. So this will be the last time. So it's basically patrons are still going to get first dibs, and then if you're not a patron, you're just gonna end up missing out. So I do apologize for that, but that's just sort of the way things have grown, you know.
And
So
we'll still try to get some chat questions where we can, but we'll just get to the ones that we get to.
yep.
If we don't get to yours, I'm sorry, but we just don't get to yours.
Hey there, Scotsman. Good to see you, buddy. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the Q&A then for our patrons here. Aurelius wants to know: do we think that Rand Paul's recent proposal to overturn Roe v. Wade will go anywhere, or is it dead on arrival? I'm not familiar with what he's doing. Hatman, have you heard about this?
No, I haven't.
So we'll have to do a little research and get back to you on that one, Aurelius. But
Yeah.
I will say that I'm very much rooting for it to get overturned.
I'm of the opinion that any kind of Roe v. Wade challenge is going to be DOA.
It's
Just because you've got, I think there's only 2, 3 possibly. I don't know Alito's standing on it. But 2, maybe 3 Supreme Court justices that say or have expressed the opinion that they thought it was ruled wrongly.
Yeah. We would have to see what happens, but
yeah.
Let's see here. Rias Khan wants to know. So let's see here. All the talk of who the Republican 2024 should be. Do you think the Democrats will try to build up the next years for 2024? Biden has said conflicting things about what he wants to do. At one point, he said that he was a one-term president. At another time, he said that he's going to try to run again. I am of the opinion that if he's still there and he's even halfway cognizant, he will probably run again. If he's not doing well health-wise, he'll probably step down and it'll be Kamala versus whoever. You know, because Kamala's going to be their intersectional pick. It's why she's the vice president.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Though I will be honest, if Pete Buttigieg was black, he would be the vice president right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talon Silverbean wants to know: we normally get on North Korea and China's shit for forcing their public to be patriotic, yet the left will scream the Americans do the same, with how they get angry at people disrespecting the flag and declaring America evil. I was wondering, what's the difference between America's version of patriotism and the communists? We have an opinion, they enforce it by gunpoint.
Yeah, our patriotism is voluntary, theirs is mandatory.
Yeah, we're loud about it. Like, don't get me wrong, we're very loud about it, because people who love this country really love this country. But we're not going to put a gun to your fucking head and say don't do that. So
yeah, their patriotism is more cult-like. North Korea is very specifically because yes, they do have to have a portrait of the Kims in their homes.
Yep.
They do have to have like televisions and radios on at any given moment. You know, they have to go out during the holidays and participate, or else. I mean, I literally just spent my 4th of July at home.
Yeah, because
I celebrated 4th of July on the 3rd. If I was in North Korea, no, I would go directly to Gulag for that.
If I remember correctly from the lecture that I listened to from Christopher Hitchens back in the day, there is a family rule in North Korea, is that they won't just kill you. They'll kill 3 generations. They'll kill 3 generations of you for not
3 generations of punishment is what it's called.
Yeah. That's the difference. Derek Mozzarella wants to know any good reading recommendations for understanding the war on terror. Well, oddly enough, Hitchens' lectures on it were really, really good. Trying to think. Other good ones to understand the war on terror. I haven't read a ton of good books on it, to be honest with you, because I kind of lived it, I have so many friends that served during that time period. So, I've sat down and talked with them about how it was, about how the war was managed, and things like that. And I've heard differing accounts. Um, so I don't really have a book I could recommend. No. But
I don't know
I
if
always recommend, real quick, I always recommend Hitchens' lectures on the axis of evil. They were really,
yeah.
really good.
I don't know if we're gonna have like a real nuanced take on the war on terror for at least another couple decades.
Mm-mm.
Because now that Biden is committing to pulling out of Afghanistan, that's not quite like an endpoint, but that's going to be really representative of one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from here on, or at least from then on, people will start looking back at it and being a little bit more analytical as far as long term effects, as opposed to analyzing it within the moment of it happening.
Yeah.
So, and of course, after a historical event has finished, once you're not there anymore, you can look at it with a little bit more nuance. So, no, I would say you're probably going to have to wait a bit.
Yeah. I probably won't be I'll probably be in my 40s when I finally see one that I can recommend.
Yeah.
So, but from my friends who lived it, the one thing that they always say is basically it's not as black and white as the media puts it.
No, no, it's not.
So, and I have friends who served in all branches. Let's see here. Holy Ninja Joe says, thoughts on Michael Knowles' view on saving free speech through playing by the left's playbook. Idiotic. I like some of Michael Knowles' takes. I don't like some of his other ones. I think that this is generally speaking whenever I talk about where I come from as a conservative, and then where I where a lot of other conservatives that I talk to come from, that are further to the right than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Then I talk about Michael Knowles and what the fuck, stick in the mud. What's his fucking name? Matt Walsh. They follow the playbook of Edmund Burke. The idea that the government can be used as a measure of, keeping a sort of norm, and that it should be. I disagree completely. I don't think that it should. I understand that, because one thing that he references, like, well, certain speech is actually banned because you can be arrested for threatening people and things like that. And I said, well, even Locke, who basically wrote the book on how rights work, quite literally, read the Two Treatises of Government, even he basically put forward the argument that is best surmised as your rights end where someone else's begin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Knowles is very, very, very naive and very foolish in regards to his arguments on this. I'm not in agreement whatsoever. I constantly clash with the part of the conservative wing that wants to use more government, to thinking that it's somehow going to bring about freedom. And that's why I think I get along so well with libertarians like Scotsman there. When it comes to government, even though we disagree on Ayn Rand, we do agree on a lot of things in regards to government application and things like that. So, when it comes right down to it, like this idea that we're somehow going to become more free through application of using the left's methods, no. Never going to happen.
I'll sum up my thoughts very simply. The left's playbook changes constantly.
There is
Why
that
the
too.
hell would you want to play by rules that are changing day by day?
Yeah. My favorite football movie will always be Remember the Titans. And one line that has always stuck with me from that is Coach Boone says, "I run 6 plays." That's it. It's just about being effective. And that's the way that it is. Like, the same thing in boxing. It's about having your fundamentals have to be good to be a really good boxer. That's part of the reason why Tyson Fury is so fucking good. His fundamentals are amazing. He doesn't throw a ton of tricky shit, but he'll beat the piss out of you with a jab and a straight. Sometimes that's all you need. You don't need to overthink this particular situation. It's about getting back to the basics of fucking work. So, Hardboiled wants to know, speaking of the pot issue early on, Trump talked about he was considering working to decriminalize it. If he had, how much would it have helped him politically? How much would it have hurt him? I don't think it would have hurt him. I think Republicans these days are a lot more open to it than they used to be.
Yeah. I think if you got someone pretty entrenched in the GOP to come out and say, yeah, I'm all for legalization, tax it, regulate it, treat it like alcohol, basically, you would find a lot more support.
Yep. Right
now, I think there's too many that are adhering to the idea that the drug war is working. It's not.
No.
And that we have to be hard on gangs and whatnot who are peddling this sort of thing, who are responsible for trafficking illicit substances.
Yep.
But
there's debate. There's debate in the chat. I love this on philosophers. People bring up Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorites. When we first started this podcast, I quoted Marcus Aurelius almost weekly. I love Marcus Aurelius. Also, he's the emperor at the beginning of Gladiator, which is my favorite film of all time. So, I need to watch Gladiator again. That movie is, you will shed manly tears, but that's a good kind of. At some point, I need to do a things I love on Gladiator. My next things I love video is actually going to be on Gundam Double Zeta, but I'm going to do Gladiator. I'm going to tell a story. When I do that one, it's probably going to make people shed manly tears because it's a manly tears story. So, but I love telling stories, as you guys know. Melee Brawler wants to know, have we read a book called A Patriot's History of the United States? If so, what do you think about it? I've never even heard of it, so.
I haven't. I know of it because it's basically the retort to Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States.
Oh,
I have read.
Somebody mentioned that a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I have not read it, but I probably should at this point if we've mentioned it multiple times here.
Let's see here. Oh, this is one that I actually almost thought about doing the big think on, but I ended up not doing it. Chaos Sonic says here, apparently, did you hear about the San Francisco gay choir song saying, "We will take your children"? Rumor is a lot of there's child predators singing it, and the lyrics of it apparently were not joking. Apparently they took it down because of the backlash. Yeah, I saw that.
What the shit?
It was creepy as fuck. I'm just going to say this right now. To the LGBT people that are out there, what you do in your fucking household is up to you. That's between you and God. But you start fucking with people's families, these people own guns. They will shoot you. Stop it. If you want people to accept you and the way you live, just be kind to them. You start acting like you're gonna start fucking around with people's kids, which apparently, some board members on the gay choir of San Francisco apparently have been arrested for accosting minors.
Oof.
Yeah, I saw the screenshots on 4chan. Somebody sent them to me. If that indeed is the case, then people are going to be answering the door with a 12 gauge, and you're going to deserve both barrels. Do not fuck with people's family. Ever. Leave the children out of this. You want to have a conversation between adults, we can do that. Bean wants to know, seeing the Chinese government is almost modern-day Nazi Germany with their wrongdoing, why isn't anyone doing anything major about it? It's just history repeating itself that allows to happen. It's something that I think is one of the biggest blind spots of the Biden administration is China. They should be sanctioning the fuck out of them. But they're just not, which is disgusting to me.
I think the biggest reason why is because economics. We depend too much on trade with China.
Yeah, Trump had a good
We
economic plan for it, you know.
Yeah,
But then
he did
again,
not give a single fuck about offending them.
not to mention it. I mean, he was the perfect president to have a strong economy because he understood business. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's one thing I miss about him. Is like economically he was fantastic. So when it comes right down to it, I find myself incredibly disturbed by it. Don't get me wrong. You know, so I'm praying that whoever our next president is, that they start taking a strong stance on this because it needs to happen. So, Serena wants to know. Um, okay, so she had a long one, but there is just a simple question in here that I'm gonna pick out of it. So, she asked, "Is it ethical and legal for a therapist to tell their patients and subscribers to only deal with therapists of a certain political persuasion, and to tell them to ask potential therapists personal questions concerning their politics and religious worldview?" So here's the thing about therapists. That's a service. Like any capitalistic service, you have the right to ask them any questions you feel are relevant to you as the person purchasing that service. So no, there's nothing wrong ethically in doing that. You know, because if somebody's gonna sit there and tell you that and give you bad advice, that's going to fuck you over. You know, in my opinion, that's tantamount to malpractice. So, so yeah,
Ethical and legal.
you have every right to ask those questions. Every right.
Legal, yes. I don't know if it's ethical for a therapist to tell somebody that they should only associate with people of a certain political persuasion,
Well,
especially if they
that's
adhere to it.
no. She's talking about the person asking the therapist.
Oh, well, no, you can ask your therapist whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
Like that's not a problem.
yeah. So, and then finally from the Discord, this is actually going to be our last question, possibly. There's two more audits going fully now. At least 10 more states are looking into it. Let's see here. Where's the question here? Do we think that these audits are a good idea or not? Absolutely. And by the way, I'm not of the opinion that we're going to find enough fraud to overturn the election. You know, but I am very much of the opinion that every election should be taken dead serious. And if there are concerns of fraud, they should be investigated. Absolutely. Unequivocally. You know? Because if like we're a republic for the people by the people. So if the people are being defrauded in a fucking election, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be solved. I don't give a shit who the president is. You know? And again, I say this as somebody who thinks that Trump lost legitimately. The simple fact is that every single year there are more cases of fraud being reported. And that's scary. It needs to be solved. We need to figure out how this is happening so we can stop it where it starts. Because you guys deserve to be able to go and vote in absolute that your voice is going to be heard with, you know, with whoever you vote for. So yeah, I support it. I don't give a shit who the president is at that point. You know, it's just about the right thing. And oftentimes I think that's a problem that I have with the modern day is like we make too many things about left or right. We don't make things about right and wrong. That's why Michael Avenatti got promoted. It's because they weren't thinking about right and wrong. They were thinking about left or right. You cannot think in those terms. You've got to be a moral person beyond your political affiliation, or else are you really a person at that point? Are you really acting human? I don't think so. Don't be a robot for a political wing. Be a human being. God gave you that gift of free will. Use it. God did not give you a potato rattling between your ears. He gave you a brain. Don't let that be free space going to waste. So, with that said, if you have a question for us that we did not get to, go ahead and tag Brainbox. Brainbox is our lead mod. He is here. He'll be taking care of that. Also, like I mentioned, this stream will not be live on YouTube next week. There will be an upload of it, but it will not be live. So if you want to see the live show, head over to twitch.tv/BigMicahC. That is where we're going to be consolidating almost all streaming content from now on. The only exception is Late Night Micah, which that is the comic book show that goes on Thursday nights usually. We didn't have it on Thursday this week because the Englewood launch was on Tuesday. So, but some of you were not able to meet us for that, so we will be talking about Englewood during the entertainment podcast. Another thing to mention about that, you guys are seeing Scotsman TV in the chat. Go subscribe to him. He's the colorist for the cover. And hopefully Scotsman and I will get to work on more stuff together in the future, because I think we work well together, to say the least. He's a good dude. So, with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin. Fuck YouTube.
Oh yeah. We'll see you guys in about 15. Till then, we love you.